He was like, I already got an apartment. I already took my name off of the lease.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anything in between, welcome back to the Rambling Rabbit. Today, we are going to be doing another reaction video. This is just something I was sent over from a friend. So, we've been putting out suggestions for things to react to. So, we had this sent in. Essentially, not watched the full clip yet because we want a raw reaction between myself and Dave. But it's about a lady who is wanting a divorce from her partner and has, for whatever reason, decided to tell the world that. So we're just going to give it a watch.
That's so funny because shocked is exactly what he said he was. When I decided that I was going to tell him that I wanted a divorce, I texted my therapist, our marriage counselor, and I was like, I need to tell him that I want a divorce, but I want to do it in a session so that there's like a mediator present. Got us in like
Pause.
ASAP, like 2 days.
Right. Okay.
This already is like, this is just a kind of alien thing to me. It's almost like something you would see in a comedy movie. Like just saying, I texted my therapist. Like it just sounds so alien to me. Like why?
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just weird. Like I understand that. I understand about therapy, and therapy is a great tool to have, and it's very important. I haven't experienced like couples therapy, but
Sounds
yeah, there's
so
just
super like
something.
commercialized over there. Like it's this like almost
Yeah,
like going to the store, you know. I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing, but I think do you think that there might just be like potential over reliance on therapy to just feel good for narcissists?
I don't know. It
I
just
don't know, man. Like, it seems like the people that you hear talking about therapy seem to be the worst fucking people sometimes. Like, I don't
yeah,
know how to explain it. Like, you know, in movies and stuff, when you hear about people talking about therapy, and they're always super rich, super fucking like Californian, the super like, you know what I mean? Like Beverly Hills. Oh, I just want to see my therapist, and then I took my fucking poodle to the fucking, you know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
goddamn
It's
the
like
mall and all this. It's like,
there's certain
yeah,
box ticking that has to happen when
yeah.
you're in that category of lifestyle. And yeah, the therapist is almost to some people, or it seems like a just like a necessity so that you can
Yeah,
say
it's like an
you've got one
accessory.
kind of thing.
It's like an accessory,
Mm,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
2 days later. And I walked in knowing that I
Let's
was
wheel that
going
up
to a
actually.
session. I need to tell him that I want a divorce, but I want to do it in a session so that there's like a mediator present. Got us in like ASAP, like 2 days later. And I walked in knowing that I was going to ask for a divorce. And so by the way, these are insane. And it's my pre-workout snack today. So if you like cinnamon and you like cinnamon rolls and you like
Oh my
cookies, and you like
god.
sweet things, then you need these ASAP. They're like covered in cinnamon sugar.
They do look
Oh my gosh.
nice.
Anyway,
I don't care though, Jack.
we sit down in our session. It's like really tense, really awkward. My ex was sitting there like, so why do we have an emergency session? The therapist was like, Jamie, do you want to start? And I just started crying and I was like, I want a divorce. You know, it's hard for me to like say the words. I was like,
Was it?
I'm done.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear like, I don't know. It just there's just something really unauthentic about this whole video.
Yeah.
Even the, I mean, for me personally, a relationship is between two people,
Mm.
and it doesn't really have anything to do with anybody else. Therapist is an exception for sure, but to broadcast your relationship to the world is just such a personal thing to do. And I find that regardless of
Yeah.
whether this her husband is an absolute douchebag, it's just very disrespectful.
Mm.
Um, and to me, not what a marriage or a relationship is about. Even to the point where I've told friends or said to friends before that when they're having relationship difficulties and they try and talk to me about it, like this is when they're in a relationship and have been in a relationship for a while. I always make a point of saying that you need to make these decisions for yourself between you and your partner, and that the reality is that it has nothing to do with anybody else outside of that relationship, because it's an intimate thing between you and another person. And that's just my views on it. I feel like when you start to get opinions from everyone else, it's not almost becomes uh not authentic, because you're
Mm.
valuing your relationship from what other people are telling you about it and their inputs on it, when it's only really you and that other individual that are experiencing it firsthand, the reality of it. And it's very easy to tell one side of a story, and as the saying goes, there's always two sides to every story.
Yeah, I think it's important to frame how you ask for help, how you ask for
Mm,
advice. I think how you approach asking for it is particularly important, because how you frame it can obviously be the difference between basically asking to be told what to do and
yeah.
just actually looking for some general sort of like third party perspective, right? Because like I'll come to you, right, and I'll ask you stuff. Um, I won't ask for like you to fix my life. I won't ask
Mm,
about like what should I do about this. I'll ask like things that are maybe a bit more ad hoc towards it, like, you know, things relating to it but not necessarily about it. Or I'll ask, you know, general things. But it's all, I think that it's important how you frame advice, right? And I think some people definitely over rely on it, definitely.
I want a divorce. He sat there quiet. I'm sitting next to him crying. He didn't move. He didn't look at me. He didn't react at all. He just was stone cold. And eventually our therapist was like, "Would you like to respond?" He goes, "Honestly, I'm just shocked." I was like, "You're what?" I like became a dragon. And I know, and I want to be clear. Our marriage deteriorated because of both of us. It was not his fault. We both became toxic versions of each other, of ourselves, and we both, led to the demise of our marriage. It's okay. We both.
I mean, okay, I want to touch on something there. That seems pretty
mm,
impartial. That's actually that's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was
yeah.
going to be, in the sense that she seems to be almost introspective of the fact that both of them were in the wrong, rather than it just be this one-sided sort of barrage of her husband, which is
Yeah.
quite
I
nice.
was, yeah,
Or at least,
I
yeah,
was,
yeah.
I was pretty much going to say the exact same thing. I was going to suggest we pause it after that, because
Mm,
it is really nice that she's accepting that the relationship has fallen apart due to both of their
yeah.
actions. Um, that's good
Mm.
to be so honest about it. It's not just saying it's because of him. It's not just blaming everything. So yeah, that's a positive point of the video for sure.
Yeah.
We're complicit in that. But I'm thinking, like, we've been in therapy for 2 years and we're actually worse now because we're both growing separately and we're not growing back together. Like you cannot, like,
Okay,
I just
pause.
was, I was,
If you've
Okay.
been in therapy for 2 fucking years, there's clearly a really big problem
Yeah.
that isn't gonna get fixed by therapy. Like, I think
Mm.
if you had an issue within a relationship and you went to therapy for let's say, I don't know, 6 months to a year, sure, but 2 years of therapy is saying to me
Yeah.
that there's not just one issue, there's lots of, like, multiple issues. I'm gonna be completely transparent as well, because that's the point of these videos. And this is just off first, um, initial kind of thoughts on seeing her and listening to her speak. She doesn't seem like an that she would be an easy person to live with. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like her mannerisms or the way that she talks, but she comes across to me as as somebody that may potentially be difficult to live with.
Respectfully, if she's watching, obviously. But
Respectfully.
respectfully, yeah.
I was
But
stunned.
we
Yeah.
the thing is,
No, go on. Go on, mate.
again,
Go on.
respectfully, we can all be difficult
Yeah.
assholes at times,
Yeah.
right?
That he would say shocked instead of like, "Yeah, I get it." Like take the mask off for a minute and just acknowledge that this has been not fun for anybody and this has gotten worse. And I was like, this has happened, this hasn't happened, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, honestly, if you are shocked, then you are not paying attention. And that just tells me everything that I need to know. So he responded right away and he's like, fine, let's just go ahead and finalize the details. And that was that.
Okay.
And I just was like, I looked at my therapist and I was just like kind of stunned. Like I knew that I was ready to leave that day, but I couldn't believe that that was his reaction. There was no empathy, there was no compassion, there was no like wanting to fight for us, which
Oh
I think that there would be.
no.
See, there we go. There's no empathy, no compassion, no
God.
wanting to fight for us. And this is so something I find super interesting here as a guy.
Fucking hell.
without even seeing the dude's perspective of it, is that this guy sounds not like an asshole to me. He sounds like somebody that knew it was coming. And the reason that she hasn't got this reaction and this fighting for it is because he's ready for it. He
Mm.
expected it. Well, even though she said it was a surprise, it's more like now that he's heard it, he's accepted it. Okay, he's being logical, if anything. Like, what value is it going to bring to either of them if he was to blow up and get angry or react in an irrational way? Like, it seems like from what she said, he's just kind of in the moment just gone, yep, okay, let's do it.
But you just always hope that like one last try, We went home that night. We didn't speak. He slept on the couch. I woke up and went to work the next day. Came home. He was playing PlayStation that night. I sat next to him. We hadn't talked in 24 hours. And I said, "Can we talk about what happened yesterday?"
And he said,
He was just playing, just looking straight ahead. And he was
he's
like,
like,
"What's to talk about?"
I can't pause an
And my-
online video game, babe.
Bruh. I mean, I don't really understand. Okay, she's kind of lost me a lot here. I don't really understand what she's expecting after the fact. Like, she's ambushed him at the therapy looking for a divorce. She's
Yeah.
gotten the divorce. He's not spat out a dummy, thrown a tantrum
No.
over it. He's
Yeah.
accepted her wishes, and now she's getting
he's-
frustrated that he's okay with it.
It very much appears like she wants a reaction from him, which is kind of understandable if you've been together with someone for a long time. I
Yeah, I
kind of
can
get that, but at
kinda
the
see
same
that angle.
time, it just appears like he's accepted it. He's being an adult. He's just playing his PlayStation, chilling, enjoying his games.
I'll tell
We're
you what,
getting
Jack.
divorced, cool.
I don't think she really did want that breakup. I think that she almost instigated this to see a reaction out of him. That's kind of like how it feels. That's kind of where I'm trying to go with that, is that
Yeah.
it almost feels like, did she even want the divorce? Was she ready for a divorce? Did she just want a rise out of him? Did she just want to get his attention? Because that
And the rise hasn't happened,
no.
right?
Well, that's kind of, yeah, that's what we're seeing
And
now.
it's almost escalating her frustrations.
In my mind, I'm thinking, this is our last ditch effort to like steer the ship around,
See, that's lost me completely because
But it's not, because you
She-
divorced him. You wanted
yeah,
the divorce.
exactly. Like, she wanted the divorce. She started the video that she wants the divorce, so she got the therapist to mediate between them, which is a really weird thing in itself because unless he's potentially like an aggressive partner or that she's at any kind of risk, I don't understand why you would need to mediate your divorce. But again, everybody's different. It might just be that she felt more secure doing it with a professional there. I've never really heard of that. I don't know if that's a common thing to. Again, it would be interesting to hear people's experiences, if they've been through divorces and if they, anything happened for a therapist. It would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, doesn't sound like something you'd hear much of here.
But then she's gone full 180 on herself and is saying, I expected him to try. And it's like, but you've been clearly trying for 2 years with therapy, which has been unsuccessful. So what more do you want from him?
It's like a backfired bluff.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what are we gonna do? And he just kept playing. And
Also, I just can't help but, like, I don't know what it is about the framing of this video where she's like bent over this entire time, but I feel like I want uppies. I don't know what
It's
it is.
so weird that like we're thinking this exact same thought at the same time. Because I was just, I was just thinking she must be kind of uncomfortable bending over to the camera like that. I know my lower back would be like feeling some sort of way if I was bent down in front of a camera for.
It's make me feel a
5
kind of way,
minutes.
man. Feel like I'm regressing. Feel like a baby.
he was like, I already got an apartment. I already took my name off of the lease. He had done things within that 24 hours. He had opened up the filing folder of his single man life and went ahead and
My guy is
got
ready
all-
for it so much. Like, my dude wanted fucking out, man. He's like, as soon as he got the go ahead, he's like organized his life probably beyond anything that it's been in the 2 years that they've been having this counseling. She's probably like
Hmm.
super pissed off that he's asserted himself so much, whereas prior to that, he was probably just going through the motions of a bit of a rough patch in a marriage or whatever it was.
Yeah, but also here's another perspective though, Jack. Like,
Yeah.
if he was so adamant about getting out, why the fuck hasn't he initiated anything? Because this seems, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
This seems almost like, I mean, let's look at both perspectives here. We keep a fair and balanced perspective here. Why
Yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
has he just been sitting around taking all this?
Maybe
Going to couples therapy. I would argue that he's leading her on just as much from what it sounds like. And,
it could
you
well
know,
be, yeah.
like, I don't know, man. You know, this is the thing, as you said before, it's only a 4 minute clip, it's only a 4 minute segment, but I mean, I don't know, dude. He seems pretty fucking on the ball with getting out of this. So my
Mm.
guess would be like, I don't know. If he had already tapped out earlier, it's just interesting to hear that he didn't initiate anything or say anything regarding divorce. So I don't
It
know.
makes me wonder, like, it makes me wonder how bad it was within those 2 years, like, as in terms of
Mm,
like, had the intimacy completely gone? Had the time together? Were they spending any time together? There's things like that that
yeah.
it would be interesting to know, which we won't likely know. But yeah, it is. It did
It's all
make me
speculation,
chuckle.
isn't it? So I mean, you
Yeah,
can only
and
speculate, and that's the
it could
problem.
well have been the. Did they say that they've got a child together as well?
Don't
I
know.
can't
I don't
remember
think.
if they.
I'm not sure if they do. I
So,
didn't really hear that.
um, it is possible that I think it's possible that someone would stick around just because there's the security of a home together and
Ah,
stuff like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and
It's just
just kind of grin and
convenience.
bear it.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially like modern day living. Like to be single is
it's expensive.
it's expensive, like really
Yeah,
expensive. So.
valid.
Opened
Mm.
up the filing folder of his single man life and went ahead and got all this shit done. So he can say he was shocked, but you cannot tell me that a person that is shocked would have gotten all that shit taken care of if they weren't
Yeah,
already
yeah.
planning on doing it
She's got a
themselves.
really valid point
But that's
there.
what I was saying. That's exactly what I'm
Yeah,
saying. It just seems a bit curious that he had already mapped this out in his head,
yeah.
but then hasn't initiated anything by himself. Like he's just,
Do we
as we
do we
said, gone with the
do that
grain.
as people though? Like when we start to have concerns, do we start mapping out little get out situations and what we do just to be kind of safe? Like if the shit did hit the fan.
It's tough, isn't it, mate? Because like, I don't know. How can you feel secure in a relationship if you're constantly thinking about getting out of it?
I'm not saying constantly. I'm
Not
saying like,
constantly, I guess, but
do you have
yeah.
a backup plan kind of thing?
I think we all have backup plans, but he had a
Mm.
fucking binder, dude. You know, like
He's
he had a
he's
step
like
by
got a
step
full apartment gaming room set up with everything he needs already.
dude had a playbook, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean. So I don't know. I think there's levels to it. I think that
yeah,
by the sounds of it, he definitely should have initiated something on his end. He's definitely clearly been not in it for a while because he's obviously not emotionally phased by any of this from what she's
mm,
telling us. Um, yeah, I'd say they're both equally as terrible in this situation. She's terrible for uploading this and bringing the whole world into it. Thanks for the content, though. But I mean, you
yeah.
know, it's like, I don't know. I don't really know what to say too much about this apart from, just be a bit more direct, have more open communication as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like talk more and maybe don't mediate everything through a therapy, like for a therapist, I guess, right?
It's just the communication's like absolutely
It's gone.
essential in any relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like they
Um,
haven't been on the right page for quite some
yeah,
time. Like, and I think that's a product of maybe having too much mediation. Maybe they've gone to therapy. That's like maybe therapy is where they only ever talk about anything. And the problem
yeah,
is they're not connecting on any emotional level. It's just kind of being mediated through a therapist, right? And I think
for
that
sure.
how can you get on the same page with someone if you're not willing to actually open up to them, right?
That's it. Yeah, there's got to be the times where you're doing it without somebody present. That's just intimate between you two as a couple.
And we were not happy. Like, I don't blame him for dreaming about a different life. Like, I was also. But to say that he was shocked really, really pissed me off because I'm like, okay, I've been spending 2 years working on this marriage. Where have you been if you're really shocked? And then, secondly,
Maybe he was just shocked about the ambush. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe,
May,
yeah. She's thinking about this one thing a bit too much. I don't think it's really that important.
yeah.
It seems to
Maybe he
be
was
sort of
just
like,
too exhausted to tick all the boxes that she wanted ticking. I know that if I
yeah.
was written off loads and loads and loads, it can overwhelm me. And he may have just got given up with potentially constantly feeling like there was always something that he needed to improve on.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the other side of the spectrum, is that if someone is just constantly seems to be nagging at you in a relationship, eventually it's going to really drain you. When you put work life on top of that,
Yeah.
family life, you know, all of the other ins and outs, you know, of stress levels that we have to manage, and just life stuff that we have to get on with it.
Yeah.
My doctor used to, with my mental health, used to call it like the control alt and delete, where you just have enough and then you just get rid of everything because you can't cope with anything anymore.
Like, this isn't just my fault. This is us together. So don't act like I pulled the rug out from under you. You were like secretly like wanting to leave also. You just didn't have the guts to say it, and I did. So it was like within a couple days he moved out. It was right before Christmas. And it actually did release all the tension from us. I mean, we sat down and had a talk with our daughter, and we were in
Okay, they do
agreement,
have a
and we
kid,
said,
yeah.
Mommy and Daddy think that we would be better parents to you if we didn't live in the same house. And she was kind of like, okay. Overall, it was the best decision that
They
we
don't
both
care.
ever made.
Well,
We're both
that's
much
that's
happier.
really nice then, that they were able to, despite all of this, sit down with their child, who, let's face it, the young person in this situation is the one that's potentially going to be affected the most. Yeah, we won't
Yeah.
even get into childhood kind of traumas and stuff like that, which I do feel like the parents separating can come under that. And certainly, I know people that have been hugely affected by their parents splitting up when they were younger. So
Yeah.
it's really nice, and another positive to take away from it, that they sat down with their daughter, and that means a lot to me as a parent that they did that. Not that I expect to give a shit about my opinion or anything, but there's an element of big respect there that they did
Well,
that.
this is a reaction, mate. You say
Mm.
what's on your mind. You're a parent. This is you reacting to another parent and how they've behaved. And I think that it says something that
Yeah,
that
I
we're not
mean,
just being
and
blindly critical of them. We are actually like listening to what she's saying within this
yeah,
video and making,
exactly.
I would say, fair fair judgments of what's going on. Obviously, we're not too overly impressed, with content that just seems to just put the most intimate and personal stuff out there. But at the same time, this,
Yeah,
I guess, is the world we live in now.
and it's still interesting to get these perspectives and see these
Yeah.
videos. So
It is a
yeah.
dichotomy, isn't it? It's like, on one hand, like, it is kind of, from an outsider like us, it is interesting watching stuff like this
Mm.
and seeing such, like, I don't know, it's almost like, do you remember we were talking about Jerry Springer, we were talking about Jeremy Kyle, we were talking about
Yeah.
these figureheads and like how they basically just brought people on to share the most intimate and integral part of their life and their experience. It's almost like just a fulfilling version of that, where we don't need those presenters anymore. People are just coming to us and doing it, right? So it does
Yeah,
sort of strike this curiosity, this innate sort of like human curiosity to hear what these people have to say about their most deep, part of their life, I guess.
and there was no aftercare on shows like Jeremy Kyle. It
Mm.
was literally real life problems with
Yeah.
a lot of the people. Sure, some of it was staged,
Yeah.
and then they were just sent home. There's actually a really good documentary about Jerry Springer on Netflix that goes into all of that. So if anyone's interested, definitely give that a watch. It's very interesting in terms of what happens when viewers left the show and what went on behind the scenes. Very good watch.
Interesting. Is there any more after
Now,
this?
but yeah, he says he was shocked, but let's be honest.
Fucking hell, no way. No way, dude.
She's not happy.
Yeah. But yeah, how are we feeling? How are we feeling about that, Jack? Any final
Yeah,
thoughts?
it was definitely a interesting watch. I felt more balanced with it as it went along, and I
Yeah.
could kind of see her position within it, as more was explained.
Mm.
Uh, Definitely happy that they were able to keep their daughter in a safe headspace with it all, and I hope that they can continue to do that. To be honest, I mean, me and my partner have always said if we separated, we would both like to think that we could maintain being friends. And my partner always says that I'm her best friend, which is really
That's nice. That's real nice,
yeah,
man.
it's really nice when I hear her say that, because you know, there's more to a relationship than just the
Of-
intimacy side. There's so, you know, there's so many layers to it.
Not fucking jealous in the slightest.
Yeah, but it all takes work though, man. 10
Absolutely, bro.
years, you know, you're
Absolutely.
not gonna,
Beautiful,
you know,
man.
you get the honeymoon stage is all good and great, but when you've
Mm.
been 4 or 5 years down the line, and the fact that we've
Seeing
been
the
doing 10
worst and the
years,
best of each other.
that's it, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's awesome, man. I'd say honestly, there's something we didn't really touch on, and I think I can kind of understand why someone would post something like this as well,
Mm.
like an alternative perspective, and she is
Yeah,
injecting
yeah.
loads of humor into this as well. I think that this can be a way for people to cope sometimes, especially if they might
For
not
sure.
have too many people. You know, they might not have access to people to vent to. This definitely is an outlet, so I can kind of sympathize with it a little bit.
Yeah.
As
Well,
someone,
that's
we're
another
streamers,
thing.
right? We've had times
Yeah.
where we've been alone. I don't know if you felt like you know, you've never had, you know, you've not had friends to just vent to. And I think like
Mm.
as like streamers, Jack being a former streamer and me still streaming quite consistently, like
Mm.
it's definitely a mentality that I can very much understand, is like, you know, putting yourself out there and trying to find people to relate to. You know, it's understandable.
Yeah, I think there's a big transition when you become a parent as well that can
Yeah.
lead to a lot of isolation because you suddenly kind of mix in with a different group of people. But at the same time, it can just end up being you and your family unit, and before you know it, you've not really seen anyone. And I've seen that's
Yeah.
happened with friends of mine. I mean, when one of my best friends had his kind of third child, he just went off radar. I just do not see him ever anymore, just because he's so busy
Yeah.
with 3 kids, 3 little feral kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like it's just a
absolutely.
big responsibility.
Absolutely, man.
Should we wrap
As
it up?
always, yeah, absolutely, man. As always, everything in the balance. You know, there is the good, the bad, and I think we covered just about all of it. Guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to drop a follow, be sure to drop a like, maybe even get in on the conversation, drop a comment. We'd really appreciate it. Sorry, it's not a follow, is it? It's a bloody subscribe on YouTube, right?
It's a bloody subscribe.
It's a bloody
eh?
subscribe, mate. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode of The Rambling Reacts. Take care.